Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to week 4. We have got, well, this week we're going to continue on with some more politically charged movements. Last week was a nice little break. We talked about Art Deco. Art Deco was pretty much a aesthetic movement, so there's no real philosophical underpinnings. There are. I mean, I think that we all realized after through the reading after week. I think we all realized that Art Deco was kind of an opulent, kind of strictly purely aesthetic kind of release based on some of the atrocities of World War One. Even though Art Deco kind of started before World War One, there was still a lot of things. And if you look at the timeline, technically, we can see that Art Nouveau, by a lot of historians' estimates, started somewhere in between 1910 and 1914 or 1915. So it definitely didn't find strength until after World War One, specifically in the United States, where it never got ground until the 30s. And for those of you interested, Art Deco was really springboarded into in the United States into national attention pretty much by Hollywood. Hollywood just really just loved, as you saw in this week's discussion board, Hollywood just really adored the Art Deco aesthetic and used it quite extensively and still does. The actual Oscar statue is an Art Deco design. So little interesting tidbits there. So we're going to move on this week. We're going to move on now. It's important to know that this week's movements work concurrently with the movements we've been studying. So it's not like this linear timeline where one movement ends and the other begins. Constructivism, and the Bauhaus are three movements that are happening concurrently in different parts of the world. They still in the Netherlands, Constructivism specifically in Russia, and the Bauhaus started in Germany. So this is a really nice little introduction here, this module overview, and these links are fantastic. So make sure you link out. They're the same links over here in the reading and resources portion of the weekly module. So be sure to read those. But in essence, De Still it emerged as a reaction to World War One. De Still is a complete opposite of Art Deco in it. There's no opulence. There's no luxurious lines and no ostentatious design, so to speak. It's simple and abstract. And we're going to start using this word abstract a lot now, because at this point we're starting to approach modernism. And modernism is about, a lot of modernism principles are about abstract reductionism. Basically, modernism principle in a nutshell is the world definitely after two world wars, but approaching after the First World War and really approaching into the 40s. The world generally kind of looked at history and said, enough is enough. Let's start over with, instead of using this historicism to receive inspiration for art moving forward, we're going to forget historicism. We're going to start completely fresh. So that modernism is a look at art that's not based on history or memory. It's based on pure objectivity of the actual artifact. Okay, so in modernism, you don't see something. This would not be a modernist principle. Okay, you look at a painting and you go, it's a painting of a tricycle and a little kid, and you go, oh, I remember when I was a little kid, I had a tricycle and a little kid. No, that's not modernism. Modernism is more pure abstract reductionism. It's quite often geometric, but nonetheless pure abstract reductionism to kind of give art a new direction based on some of the atrocities that have happened in the world up till that point. We're not quite at modernism yet. However, Constructivism, Bauhaus, and De Still all point towards modernism. That's an important principle. De Still, again, is this reductive abstractive, a reductive abstraction represented universal harmony in order to create this fundamental utopian vision. Okay, and then you have constructivism. Now, I'm not even going to start constructivism. I don't even want to give you a synopsis because just read this. Constructivism is a very, very, very political movement. Okay, understand how constructivism was used for the state in Russia, not individual preferences, however, for the state. Finally, the Bauhaus. We move into the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus was a school of design established in Germany, and it really, really took the arts and crafts principles and ran with them throughout the school, the curriculum, and the program design at the Bauhaus. And basically, it was really collapsing. The principle was collapsing any traditional hierarchies among fine and applied arts. So its attempt was to integrate art, society, and technology into one kind of entity. Okay. In that respect, it could be compared to constructivism in that it is trying to integrate art, society, and technology. But there are some inherent differences. Bauhaus was not a social movement, guys. It was a school, all right? There is no real, well, I shouldn't say that because there is an aesthetic associated with the Bauhaus, and we'll get to that. One thing I want to point to a little bit further is that we will also be looking at new typography. And the textbook, the History of Modern Design, the Raisman textbook, 181 to 222, specifically pay attention to the new typography, and as we talk about that, because that is the typography we practice today. And the Bauhaus is basically the curriculum that we're studying right now at SNHU. And most design schools in the country are based on the Bauhaus principles of design curriculum. Okay, real quick, want to go through the announcement. One of the most important things in this week was to understand, to stop for a second, look back and say, why do we study history? We don't study history just for the heck of it. We don't study history because it's required of it. When we study history, we study history to know historic styles. It will help you in your careers. And I use this example, okay? You're a new designer on your job, and your art director walks into a room and into your office or into your workstation and hands you an assignment and says, okay, this is a redesign or rebrand, and here's the original. The only parameters here is the design. The client wants a constructive principle added to their rebrand. So you can't stop there and go, what does that mean? You need to know exactly what that means. Okay, conversely, you're in a studio at your new job as a designer, and your design team is talking about using Dave Still principles and grid structure for an upcoming assignment. Okay, now you will be expected to know exactly what that means. I mean, you can't sit there as a new designer and go, gosh, what are they talking about? Do you see what I'm saying? So, all right, so this week I want you to keep your timeline handy. As I mentioned, we've got these movements that are running concurrently. So it's really a good idea to keep that timeline handy. Okay, a couple of reminders and some housekeeping here. Readings and resources this week. Not only the book, but the links as well. We have the discussion board this week, guys, so don't forget Thursday's your deadline, and don't forget your 2 required peer response posts. Next week is a milestone week, milestone 2. So I kind of prepared you for that by leaving this little reminder that we have a milestone week coming up for milestone 2 for next week. So there's the rubric for that. So you can jump over there and review that. Okay. All right, guys. Oh, and if you haven't looked at this, how to complete milestone 1 in the final project, there's a few students that were having a couple of issues, but I think those have all been rectified based on the feedback that I've got on this particular video. So apparently it's very helpful. If you're having difficulties with milestone 1 or the final project, please review this video, and I think it should help. All right, guys, that's what I have. Welcome. Thanks very much for listening to me for 9 minutes. Sorry I went over again, but thank you very much. And listen, I will see you guys in discussion board. Welcome to week 4. Great week this week. Working on towards the final. Any questions, comments, concerns, or other, please feel free to get with me. All right, thanks, everyone.